In the nerves, we have cranial nerves and peripheral nerves. First, we will revise cranial nerves. You all know, first is olfactory, second is optic, third is oculomotor, fourth is trochlear, fifth trigeminal, sixth abducent, seventh facial, eighth vestibulocochlear, ninth glossopharyngeal, 10th vagus, 11th accessory, and 12th hypoglossal. I am sure you all must be knowing mnemonics for this also. On occasion of trip, the attractive faces were girls visitors. Aha. Now, first in this, we are going to see trigeminal neuralgia. It is a distressing condition, occurs in the middle-aged and elderly, more common in females than in males. It is characterized by sudden severe pain in the distribution of trigeminal nerve, usually restricted to one or two divisions, precipitated by exposure to the cold, touching certain points of the face called as trigger points, eating, walking, or even talking. Pain is so severe that patient screws up affected side of face and hand comes up in the protective gesture. Hence, the condition is also called as tic dolorux. Tic dolorux tic dolorux. Causes of trigeminal neuralgia is first, in majority cases, no cause is found. Very rarely, it is due to cerebellopontine angle lesion like acoustic neuroma. Onset at younger age is due to multiple sclerosis. Treatment, initially conservative treatment with drugs like carbamazepine is given. If drug therapy fails, surgical treatment is required. Methods of surgical treatment are first, peripheral neurectomy, supraorbital or infraorbital. Long-lasting results are rarely achieved. Second is open surgery, can be done by middle fossa approach or posterior fossa approach. Middle fossa approach, Caesarean ganglion is approached subtemporally, either extra or intradurally. In this approach, it is possible to spare ophthalmic division, therefore to avoid complications like anesthesia affecting the surface of eye. Second approach is posterior fossa approach. Sensory root of fifth nerve is divided in cerebellopontine angle as it runs towards Meckel's cave. By microsurgical technique, it is possible to preserve touch sensation and abolish pain sensation. But all these are major surgical procedures and carries some element of risk. Third modality in surgical treatment is trigeminal ganglion alcohol injection. Needle is inserted 1 centimeter below the zygomatic notch, upwards, backwards, and inwards for 5 to 6 centimeter through foramen ovale to enter ganglion or CSF surrounding the ganglion. Position of the needle is checked by radiography. 0.5 ml of absolute alcohol is injected. This method is effective provided patient will accept the consequent numbness. Fourth modality is thermocoagulation of trigeminal ganglion. Thermocoagulation probe is inserted similarly through the foramen ovale and thermocoagulation is achieved. Now we are going to see facial nerve lesions. Facial nerve lesions may be intracranial, cranial, or extracranial. Intracranial lesions further divided as supranuclear, nuclear, or infranuclear. Causes of intracranial lesions. First, in the brainstem. Vascular causes are thrombosis, embolism, or hemorrhage, trauma to the brainstem by head injury, infections like polio, diphtheria, infective polyneuritis, and tumors. Causes between the brainstem and internal auditory meatus are trauma, fracture skull base, excision of acoustic neuroma, surgery of trigeminal ganglion, infections like non-specific meningitis, tubercular or syphilitic meningitis, tumors like acoustic neuroma, tumors of CP angle, supranuclear lesions, occipitofrontalis and orbicularis palpebrum muscles enjoy bilateral innervation, hence they spare. So only lower half of the face is involved. In nuclear lesions, whole face is affected. Also, the opposite arm and leg may get affected. Infranuclear lesion, whole face and sometimes auditory nerves get involved. Now, cranial causes are, it is the intraosseous portion of the facial nerve, that is intratemporal. Causes are fracture skull base, Middle ear diseases like chronic otitis media, chronic or acute mastoiditis, infections like herpes zoster. Middle ear surgeries like stapedectomy, mastoidectomy, etc. Following the fracture, paralysis may appear immediately as a result of direct injury to the nerve. Hemorrhage or edema within the nerve sheath also results into paralysis, but it may recover. Paralysis occurring some weeks later is due to pressure of fracture callus and it is unlikely to recover. Now, extracranial causes, parotid surgeries, metastatic lymph node in the posterior triangle of the neck, and parotid tumors. Now, Bell's palsy. It is the most common type of idiopathic infranuclear facial nerve palsy. Causes are vasospasm of blood vessels of facial nerve near stylomastoid foramen. It may follow exposure to the chills or emotional upset. Swelling within the sheath or the sheath of the nerve extend into the stylomastoid foramen. Maybe because of infection, viral infections like herpes zoster. Tumors of the parotid gland. Clinical features, onset of paralysis is sudden. Pain may present behind the ear before or after onset of the paralysis. On examination, forehead cannot be wrinkled on the affected side. Eye on the affected side cannot be closed. There may be epiphora due to impaired drainage of the tears because of weakness of lower eyelid, which sags down along with the lacrimal punctum. Angle of the mouth deviates towards the normal side with dribbling of saliva from the angle of the mouth. Buccinator muscle palsy allows food to collect in the cheek, so patient cannot chew or swallow properly. Taste may be lost on the affected side due to involvement of chorda tympani nerve. Ear and central nerves are usually spared. Corneal ulcerations may follow due to exposure. Whistling is impossible. Face is flat and expressionless. Investigations, neurological investigations are necessary before labeling the palsy as a Bell's palsy. Radiograph of mastoid to rule out cholesteatoma, VDRL test, blood sugar test, Montauk's test, CT scan to rule out tumors or acoustic neuroma. Treatment, initially it is treated with the steroids like prednisolone 10 mg 4 times a day, tapered off in 8 to 10 days. They reduce edema and thus help the regeneration of the nerve in initial stage. Vitamin B12, B6, and B1. Care of the eye and angle of the mouth. As the eye cannot close by itself, an iPad should be used to cover it, or goggles should be worn to protect against dust and corneal abrasions. It can be treated with the tarsorrhaphy, placement of the gold weight subcutaneously on the tarsal plate. Support should be given to the angle of the mouth. Malleable rods covered with the rubber tubings are used. They have S-like bend on the both sides. One curve is hooked around the ear and one in the angle of the mouth. Physiotherapy plays important role. Electric stimulation to contract the muscle passively, and along with that we advise active exercises. Surgical treatment includes cross-face nerve graft, anastomosis to the buccal branch of contralateral facial nerve, or even we can go for hypoglossal anastomosis, but which results in unwanted tongue movements. Sometimes we have to go for facial nerve decompression. The facial nerve is decompressed in the vertical and horizontal parts of the opening by opening mastoid and the middle ear respectively. 85% of Bell's palsy cases recover spontaneously with the treatment. Further 12% to 30% cases may improve. Decompression is required only for remaining 2 to 3%. Plastic surgery to improve cosmetic appearance and closure of the eye is performed in chronic cases where there is no hope of spontaneous recovery and muscles have been atrophied. Now we are going to see peripheral nerve injuries. They are classified into 3 groups: neuropraxia, axontomesis, and neurontomesis. Neuropraxia is a physiological paralysis of conduction in intact nerve fibers due to stretching of due to stretching and distension without rupture. Now you should know here nerve fibers and nerve sheath both are intact. Causes of neuropraxia are minor stretch injury, concussion, vibrating effect of high velocity missile passing near a nerve without contacting it. Clinical features are sensory loss, paresthesia, weakness of the muscle group lasting for few days. When power of conduction returns, all functions comes to the normal. Treatment recovery is always complete. We have to reassure the patient, wait and watch. Splinting the limb in a position of relaxation of paralyzed muscle group until spontaneous recovery occurs. Second type of peripheral nerve injury is axanthomosis. It is intrathecal rupture of nerve fibers within the intact sheath. Here, nerve sheath is intact, but fibers are ruptured. Causes fracture dislocation, vigorous reduction of fracture, traction injury at the birth, clutching for support while falling, severe and acute compression by tourniquet or splints, progressive compression from clutches, splints, fracture callus or scar. Clinical features, initial picture of neuropraxia due to stretch can be seen. Widespread loss of sensation, tone and power, reflex action in the limb. This is followed by incomplete recovery. The resolution of concussion will restore the sensation and movement to certain areas of the limb, where nerve fibers are intact. Numbness and paralysis will persist in the area where nerve fibers are ruptured. Pathology of axanthomosis, intrathecal rupture of nerve fibers within the intact sheath leads to Wallerian degeneration at the distal portion of the broken axon. Intraneural fibrosis and minute intraneural hemorrhage occurs. When recovery starts, proliferation and downgrowth of axon occurs to form a fusiform neuroma. There is some loss of nerve fibers owing to the intraneural fibrosis, but since the relative position of axons and distal tubule is preserved by intact sheath, there is very little maldistribution. Hence, quality of regeneration is good. Recovery occurs first in muscle group near to the site of division and lastly in the peripheral skin area where the anesthesia begins. Time of recovery depends upon the level of lesion. After initial delay of 10 days, downgrowth of axons proceeds distally at the rate of 1 mm per day. Further delay of 3 weeks before the end organ becomes activated. Secondary pathological changes in axanthomosis. Impaired circulation and disuse renders the part blue and cold. Skin becomes thin, nail brittle, trophic ulceration may occur. Muscle which are paralyzed become overstretched by unopposed action of antagonist group. Muscle nutrition gets hampered and fibrosis results. Recovery in such muscles is impossible. Periarticular adhesions forms around the immobile joint and fix them in a contracted position. To combat this effect, the part must be protected by warm padding to prevent injury and splinting in position of relaxation. Aim of the treatment: to maintain nutrition of the limb, to prevent secondary pathological changes, to maintain muscle and joint in good working condition. Treatment: exercise and movement of paralyzed muscle maintained by use of elastic splints mounted on the frame. Reassurance to the patient, careful follow-up of progress by regular record of electric reaction to the skin sensitivity. Failure to recover or regression after initial recovery is indication for local exploration of the injured nerve. Occasionally, it is necessary to deal with peripheral scar or to remove intraneural fibroma. To calculate the rate of nerve regeneration, there are few clinical tests suggested by H.J. Seddon. First is Tinel signs. Course of nerve is lightly percussed with patellar hammer from below upwards. Tingling sensation is experienced at the level of regeneration is reached. Second, measurement of rate of pain and touch sensation recovery. and recording it. Third, observation of the time at which function of muscle returns at a different level from the injury. Third, in peripheral nerve injury is neuroentemesis. Here, partial or complete division of the nerve fibers and sheath causes penetrating wound injury, industrial injury, war injury, fractures with extensive soft tissue injury. Clinical features: partial lesion produce lateral neuroma of the nerve, whereas complete division produce terminal neuroma at the end of proximal portion. Pathology of neuroentemesis: divided axons causes retrograde degeneration occurs. In divided axons, retrograde degeneration occurs up to the higher level. After 10 days, axon begins to subdivide and downgrowth occurs. But by this time, gap between divided nerve ends, which is initially filled with blood, now gets replaced by organized clot and fibrous tissue. This prevents the downgrowth of the axons. Few axons may succeed in initial entering distal end, but recovery is very minimal. Even after accurate nerve suture, the quality of regeneration is less perfect as there is wastage of axons in the scar tissue. Maldistribution of the fibers can occur in mixed motor and sensory nerves. Treatment: suturing of nerve under suitable conditions. Suitable condition includes absence of sepsis, absence of tension, and nerve can be placed in the suitable bed. It can be treated by primary nerve suturing, primary nerve grafting, or secondary suturing. Primary nerve suturing. In a clean incised wound, immediate primary suture is ideal treatment form of divided nerve. In a contaminated wound, nerve sutures can be postponed until 3 to 4 weeks. If divided nerve is encountered during examination of such a wound, their ends are approximated by one stitch of fine silk, which prevents retraction. If only one end of nerve is seen, then it should be sutured to the adjacent muscle or fascia. Nerve suture. Two ends of nerve are identified. Mobilization of two ends from the muscles, ligament, and fascia. Position of the limb. Suturing done in the relaxed position of the limb. Transposition should be avoided. Nerve anchoring. When two ends cannot be brought together, the two ends are approximated as close as possible to facilitate a gradual straightening of the limb. Sometimes we have to resection of the bone. Sutures are introduced through the nerve sheath without damaging nerve tissue. For suturing non-irritating material like fine black silk, titanium wire, or nowadays Prolene is used. Catgut we don't use because it causes more fibrosis. Results of nerve suture depend on the many factors. Preoperatively affected nerve, mixed motor and sensory nerve are subject to greater degree of maldistribution than purely motor nerve. Infection delays healing and increases scar tissue. Time. Primary suture gives better results. Pre-op management. If muscles and tendons are allowed to stretch, it loses its tone and recovery is diminished. Intraoperative causes are hemostasis, prevention of tension and torsion, preparation of proper bed, non-irritating suture materials are used. Postoperatively, absence of infection. After treatment, relaxation of muscle by massage, electric treatment, etc. should be done, and cooperation of the patient. When suturing is not possible, we do nerve anastomosis, nerve grafting, tendon transplant surgery, orthodesis, or amputations. Thank you.